Hello folks, welcome back. This is the second part of the shop tour and shop update. This will be touring the garage portion of the shop and the several machines up here in the garage. These are all the larger machines. Hope you enjoy this part. And then wrap it up after the tour. So this is the reason the rotary phase converter moved to my garage. This is my Logan Powermatic Logan 12 by 36 inch lathe. It's got an L00 spindle. It didn't come, this lathe didn't come with a chuck. All it came with was a 5C collet closer. I purchased a backing plate. I had this 4-jaw chuck that I was going to put on my Enco lathe. Which still isn't quite running yet, but it's very close. And after some messing around and some issues, I got moved here. I bought this from a rigging company that was cleaning up after a equipment auction at a very local machine shop that I never knew existed, that had a going out of business auction. And this lathe received 0 bids. And my interpretation, I saw it listed on Facebook Marketplace. I, for some crazy reason, went and looked at it, and they were asking $1,500, and I said, nah, I don't need it. There's another guy supposed to look at it. Tell him if he wants it, it's his. I went to lunch, and I was sitting at lunch, and I thought, I wonder if my rotary phase converter can power this, because I knew it was 3-phase, 240, and checked it out. And yeah, that Ronc phase converter can power it. So I sent him a text or a message and said, I'll give you $1,000 for it. And they came back with, if that guy hasn't bought it, and they came back with, guy never came by to see it, $1,100 and it's yours. And I said, oh, screw it. So it's mine. And I had tested this under power, got it home. It sat in another corner of the garage for a year. Then I figured out and moved a bunch of stuff around the garage, and this thing supposedly weighed 1,100 pounds. Somehow it weighed more than that. Got it finally rigged up and dragged it. I moved it almost all the way over here by myself with a come along and some straps and some other stuff. Got it in position and jacked it up slowly and put it on feet and stuff, and then it wouldn't run. Ended up had to replace the controls transformer. It's got 24-volt controls. Controls transformer gave up the ghost during the move. Then it didn't want to start, and then it turned out that was you push the start button and it wouldn't hold, and that turned out to be an issue with the brake, because there's a switch in the brake and that had shifted. But once we got put in, my buddy of mine brought a transformer. I bought another one, but we've got to replace the transformer. It's been working fine since. Let me make sure, get this. This is a piece I'm working on. Get that out there. I mentioned working on something with a horizontal mill. It has to do with the compound here, and I'll make a video on that. I've I recorded stuff on there. I'm going to turn on a rotary phase converter, which, like every rotary phase converter I've heard about, is noisy. It's not horrible noisy, but it's noisy. And then this is a belt drive variable. Nice and smooth. And brake, which also shuts off the motor, or start it up in reverse. The E-stop button doesn't give you a brake. This is a mechanical brake that actually jams into the pulley. I did a little bit of work recently and put cam followers in the steady rest, which I'm using. If you notice, the steady rest looks brand new. I don't think it had ever been out of the storage cabinet. It's under the tailstock into the lathe. Tailstock sitting over on a workbench because the tailstock had never been used on this lathe. Obviously because it's the wrong tailstock for this lathe. The center line of the tailstock is a ½ inch plus below the center line of the spindle. It's a tailstock for either a 10 or 11 inch lathe, not a 12-inch lathe. And based on paperwork I have, this lathe was probably a late 1972 purchase, and it came with a production collet. I got it with a production collet system on it, which was ordered in December of '74. So, give you an idea how old it is. It doesn't actually, the ways don't look all that worn. I haven't finished cleaning it up. It was filthy. It had been used. It had an emergency collet in it, or a machinable collet, I'll call it. They'd been machined to hold a particular part. It looked like they were using it to fairly high speed or something, and doing some kind of an abrasive operation on that, and it was just covered with fine aluminum swarf that, inside, outside, thick layer in places. Scrape it off and then wipe it off. Scrape it off and wipe it off. So, more time than I need to spend on that. This is another section I reshot from the first go around, mostly because I got more work done. The Enco mill is now hooked up with a VFD. It's an inexpensive Banggood VFD. You can probably see over my left shoulder, barely behind the, perhaps you can see it over my left shoulder. Main thing that I want to point out is it's now completely wired in with the front, so to speak, front panel controls. Set right now on 90 hertz, and I believe forward, reverse, and speed control there. E-stop. Some tuning is needed because the E-stop stops it slower than turning it to stop. I have to add some braking in there. There's a bracket here that's part, it will shortly, probably within the week, have a tachometer that reads the actual spindle speed hooked up on the VFD. And this nice little mill, this is the 8x32 or 36 version. It's a little bit smaller. I have a Magnum by Conquest vise. Conquest is a company in Santa Fe Springs, California. The main part of their product line that I can find, the main product line that they make is in spin casting for low temperature metals, where you make a circular mold with many cavities in it and spin it up, centrifugal casting, pour into the middle. But they make a line of Kurt clones, and this is a 5-inch vise, which I think fits this mill a lot more reasonably than a 6-inch vise would. That's where I bought it, and I think I bought it, the company I bought it from was in Lakewood, Colorado, as a distributor. And I think I bought a new NOS shortly after I bought the mill in 2009, or very early 2010. Very reasonable price, because normally their prices match Kurt. Vice jaws seem to be identical to Kurt dimensions. The bolt-on, the moving jaw, and the back of the fixed jaw, just like Kurt. Accessories fit like Kurt, the 3/4 hex. So, but so this is just like a Kurt. The Enco is like a small Bridgeport. It doesn't nod. The head tilts, but it doesn't nod forward and back. Has a ram that moves in and out, and it will traverse this direction pretty much normally. Normal knee movement. I have put on a DRO 3-axis. I put the Z-axis on the knee, the Z-axis DRO. It does not have the same system on the quill measurement lockout as a Bridgeport type, and that leads to a completely different issue for wanting any kind of an electronic readout on quill movement. I did read somewhere how a way to do that, to put a separate DRO kind of system on the quill of this unit, and I may do that in the future. It will require some permanent modifications, but all in all, I'm very happy with the unit. It works very well. I've done several things with it so far, small little jobs, getting a good feel for it. It seems to run very well. There is a 5-speed belt reduction in here, just simple belt drive. From, when I say 5-speed, there's direct drive down to about 6 to 6.5 to 1 at the low end. So, and the original system started with a 3,500 RPM motor and a 2-speed system where it ran at 3,500, or I'd have to look at the drive, a much lower speed. It seemed like it was like a fifth 5.2 or something like that reduction in motor speed, and then the range, which would have yielded fairly low speeds. The bottom speed originally was 100. Without getting into too much on here, the lowest speed I'm comfortable running the VFD and the motor with the cooling issues that you get when you run a motor at lower than normal speed. In this case, I'm restricting myself to no lower than 40 hertz on the motor for brief times. It's about 150 RPM. This is a 1.5 horse motor that I've put on it. When I bought it, it had been converted to 1725 RPM, 125 volt motor, single phase. I put a 3-phase 1.5 horse motor on it. Indications I found it. Manual online that I believe pertained to this mill. Did not get one with the mill. And that seems to be about the right horsepower for this mill. It's not going to do large face mills and things like that at low speed. Just doesn't have the horsepower for it. And so I'm going to have to live with that limitation. But all in all, I'm very, very happy with it. Well, this is my Enco lathe, which is now running completely. Probably still needs to be moved to its final position, which is inches from where it is now, and raised up off it's on a wheeled cart, and I intend to raise it up and fix it in position with some anti-vibration material. But I do have it all hooked up and working off the VFD, which is over here. It's a Tico Westinghouse model, 2-horse, and it's got a 2-horse motor. But I can control it from the front panel here. Decided to mute this section of the video and record voiceover because that VFD, for some reason, throws off sound that I could not hear until I was doing playback for editing. And there was just some high frequency noise that would have just made this unbearable for many people. So to save ears and save a lot of complaints, I was just demonstrating forward, reverse, variable speed, and e-stop. This VFD actually gives me an ES when I use the e-stop, but like the Banggood VFD, which doesn't throw out noise like this, using the e-stop doesn't give me a break. Using the regular stop breaks the motor and stops the turning faster. So a little bit of odd behavior that maybe I can get out by adjusting settings on the VFD. But recording video with that VFD is going to be fun because I'm going to have to do voiceover all the time. Now back to the regular programming. And the VFD even gives me a notice when the e-stop is set. I have parts to give this a tachometer, and parts for the Logan lathe to have the tachometer. I just have to figure out where to mount the magnet and the sensor. I'm planning on mounting the tachometer readout here, right above the controls. I have all the various accessories. This cabinet I have set up with a bunch of shower bins to have most of my lathe accessories and tooling, and that'll serve both lathes. The Logan lathe is just right over here. Well, the final machine on our tour is this beast. This is a Racine power hacksaw. I'm not sure of the model. It's not marked anywhere on it. It was a purchase. I just got a wild hair one time that I needed to have a power hacksaw. And I looked on our local Craigslist and found one. Now, according to the purchaser, seller, this was running until he had to get it out of his machine shop. I don't remember if he was closing his machine shop or whatever. He loved this machine. The big problem with it is the main control box is broken. It's got this had a cast iron bracket that it was mounted to. It's been repaired before. So I'll have to repair or reinforce the cast iron bracket. I'm not going to try to repair it in the sense of it's been brazed together before, and I'm not going to do that. I will just plate it somehow. There was something else over in this area that I needed to. That means I'm going to have to pull the motor off, I believe. At least that was my plan. It needs extensive cleaning, and then hopefully it runs. This again is another three-phase machine, 240 volt. Based on a couple of clues, the motor itself, which is a Delco, AC Delco, as in General Motors motor, not that they don't still make some motors and don't make motors. That's not the clue. It's the frame size. It's one of those old frame sizes that they quit making in the early 50s. Plus it's got an Air Force property tag, which also means it was purchased probably in the sometime after the Air Force was formed in '47. So that kind of puts a date range of 47 to 52, 53 on it. There's Blind Dog Blades, gentleman there, did a restoration on a very similar saw, but different. Very similar, but a different model, I'm sure. There are reasons why I believe it's a different model. This one has, this is a 1100 RPM motor, 6-pole motor, I believe that is, and a gearbox. And there's a shift lever on the gearbox, and that shift lever, which means that it's at least a 2-speed gearbox, 2 or 3-speed gearbox. And looking through whatever literature I found on Racine on the web, that means certain things about models that I haven't been able to identify, which means that it keeps me from identifying it. Doesn't match up with any of the literature that I've seen, which just kind of means that it's in an interim period between the different years, the literature that are available. So, but again, like I said, this is a 3-phase. I'll have to get power running it off the rotary phase converter, and think it'll probably do a better job on a lot of stuff but then I don't do a lot of stuff that my little 4x6 cheapy bandsaw doesn't do. So it'll be fun to have and fun to do a little work on. So, well, that completes our tour. You've seen all the machines. There's a couple that still need some work, some of them more than others. That Racine power hacksaw is going to be quite a bit of work. but I still have to do quite a bit of work down in the basement to get all the machines in their new place and get them all running. I can run the horizontal mill where it sits, but I really need to get the surface grinder moved and get it into service. Don't think it's a big job to get it into service once I move it. And the big problem probably with the shaper is learning how to run it and some work holding issues. The little Shoreline as a CNC, there's still some things to work out there. But thanks for watching. I'm going to try to produce videos much more frequently than I have been. And as we go along, quality should improve. I had to get new software. I've got some new cameras. Let's see how it goes. Again, thanks for watching. Those of you that have subscribed recently, thanks for subscribing. Hope I can keep you interested. Thanks again.